Welcome back to the Make Account Podcast.
I'm Marcus Mire, founder of Mire Group CPAs and the Total Control Accounting System.
And I'm Tyler Warner, small business owner with a lot of accounting questions. In today's episode, we're talking about Xero.
Yeah.
In a different way than we've talked about it before, right?
Yeah, I think we've kind of hinted around it a ton.
Yeah.
Obviously, if you
I
listen.
wouldn't say hinted. I mean, it's...
Danced around? No, not even that.
No.
Yeah. If you've listened long enough, you've kind of heard us talk about cloud accounting being the center of the total control accounting system to get you collaborative with your accountant, to work with them in such a way that kind of propels your business getting organized. But we haven't gone into, we've been all around it, but we haven't gotten into like kind of nuts and bolts of Xero, how it works, why we use it.
Right. And so if you're a seasoned business owner, right, and been around for a while or not, you've probably heard of QuickBooks. You probably use QuickBooks unless you're in the ecosystem that, Mire Group has set you up with. But there's some skepticism of trying anything new. And so you're hitting people with like, got to get on the cloud, got to get on this software they've probably never heard of. And they've probably thinking, oh my gosh, okay, I've got to move payroll, I've got to move all my accounting, all my old data,
right?
All this different things, and so like little dings start going off of like, is this going to work? Does it do the same things? And so that's what I'm hoping this episode is like, just puts everybody's mind at ease,
dispel the myths.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
No,
Xero's got what you need.
Yeah, because we come across that a lot. Like you're saying, I never thought of it this way, but okay, so if we're asking somebody to move from desktop to cloud, kind of to your point, a natural progression is, well, at least bring me to QuickBooks Online.
Right, yeah. I know the brand name.
Correct.
Familiar.
I know. And it's so like ingrained in people's minds. I've heard people even say my QuickBooks file, and it's not even QuickBooks. It's like the Kleenex kind of reference.
Yeah,
like
sure.
They'll be in Peachtree or Sage, I think it is now.
Yeah.
And they'll be like, my QuickBooks file. I'm like, dude, you don't even have QuickBooks.
Yeah.
So, I think there is some kind of hurdle to get over with just that brand recognition of QuickBooks and the Intuit kind of suite of products. But so kind of to hit on your point, I mean, what we generally say is, look, if you're coming to us and you're wanting to move, like you've kind of listened to what, you bought what we're selling essentially. You listen to our content, or you're in the fold of one of our clients who we've been talking to a long time about moving. You already kind of trust what we're saying, and so we're basically just leveraging off of that and saying, listen, if you're coming to us to move to the cloud, you've already kind of put some trust in what we're saying and some credence in that. We think Xero is the better product from a user experience, from a functionality standpoint, from a support perspective. And so trust us on that. And then I know we're going to get into some of the details of why you should trust us on it. And we'll kind of go through probably not line by line, but kind of bullet points.
Yeah. Well, let's get started. So what's one of the first, and this is from real world experience of people that you've actually converted from QuickBooks to complete cloud.
Yeah, there've almost always been QuickBooks Desktop, and what I would say is the first thing people love is the bank feeds and the bank reconciliation process. So let's dive into that a little bit. So Xero, like QuickBooks, will connect to your bank accounts, and what that means is Xero will pull the data in. Even more like detailed would be the transactions, they're in the file, or I say file, it's a web browser, but they're waiting for you to reconcile and or code them or deal with them. So if you hadn't experienced that with the desktop software, then that immediately is already a win. Like, because if you've experienced the days of having to like input my transactions, you've heard people say I'm doing my taxes. Yeah. What that means is they're going through their bank statements and putting in their software or putting in a spreadsheet. Like, if the data is queued up for you because you've got a live bank connection, already a win. But the reason we like it better in Xero is because you reconcile daily. And so in this real-time data kind of world, if every day your bank transactions are feeding in, and in a quick session, like I know I do the accounting here for us, like reconciling the bank account, which I don't do it daily, but I'll do it every couple days. It literally takes me like 3 to 5 minutes. Yeah. And I know at a snapshot what the bank says I have, meaning this is what is cleared the bank, and then what my books say, the difference would be anything that has a float, like which we don't write many checks, but outstanding checks or deposits we've gotten that we maybe haven't made yet at the bank. So My point is, you don't wait till end of month to do bank reconciliation.
Right.
It's ongoing. You reconcile the bank daily or every couple of days. And so that really is what drew me to Xero. That interface, the way it looks, the way it works, the ability to create rules.
And not to get into the weeds, but the cache coding and the it remembers things. So that 3 to 5 minutes, I know for me, can even look like 30 seconds. If it's like, okay, 5 transactions and all of them have been remembered of how they're supposed to be coded, you're just literally pressing okay.
Yeah, Xero is suggesting to you the previous coding.
Right.
It's like, hey, I know last time you went to this business.
We always say Popeyes.
Well, Office Depot. Let's say last time you went to Office Depot, you put it to Office Supplies. Do you want to do that again? And so I think another common theme amongst cloud in general is that if you build your cloud system in the right way, you're checking what the machine is telling you versus input. You know what I mean? So like you're checking that suggested coding, or even take it a step further, bank rules. So in that same example about Office Depot, you could create a rule in Xero where you say, if the transaction feeding in from my bank has a description or a vendor name that says Office space D, code it to Office Supplies and say it was Office Depot. So again, that would be kind of the OK button just sitting there, like Xero says, hey, we this rule you have this transaction meets that criteria. Do you want to apply that rule? And you just say yes. Yeah. So again, think of all the clicks you're saving, all the typing you're saving, and that's just on the bank reconciliation. But that's kind of what got me in. When I saw the bank reconciliation and how that works, the data feeding in, and then the collaborative nature we're going to talk about, but that was what kind of got me going at first.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So what about the basic accounting functions? I mean, that's out of the box. You're not missing anything that you need. I remember, to kind of give you the example, right? I remember we used to use FreshBooks. I think they've changed brand names now.
No, it's FreshBooks still.
Still?
Yeah.
Okay. Anyway, we used FreshBooks, and I remember it had it would generate a P&L. Yeah. We'd keep up with all of our invoices, all of our expenses and everything, and you're just like, it's not accounting software. And I was like, I don't get it, man.
Yeah.
It's doing everything we need for
It was
accounting.
reporting. So what you're hitting on is reporting. FreshBooks, in that example, couldn't produce a balance sheet, which is critical.
Yeah.
Like when you file your tax returns, as any business but a sole proprietorship, you have to report a balance sheet. But anytime you need to get bank financing, they're going to want to set up financial statements. So that was very limiting on the FreshBooks side. But in Xero, the reporting's really good. And I will say this, a few years ago, it wasn't as great, but myself, along with a group of people that really kind of work with Xero a lot, have input, and we're starting to see the fruits of that in terms of that reporting is really great. But yeah, any report that a business owner wants, any of the customary reports that they want, they've got them. Balance sheet, P&L, cash flow, vendor reports, AR reports. I mean, just you name it, they have 1099 reports. But the thing about Xero that I like in terms of reporting is the ability to customize. So you can take a report, move things around, group things, add percentages. I mean, you can really make a report that meets your needs. Maybe there's a KPI or management figure you're trying to look at. You can build a report for that. So yeah, to answer your question, it's going to have all that in terms of reporting and accounting functions. Yeah. Like your FreshBooks example is great, because if you're thinking this is some second-rate software, I'm going to get in and not have a balance sheet, that's not the case. You're going to have everything you need to run your business.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I would say one of the great things one of the great things Xero does, and one of the things people struggle with, is invoicing and getting paid. So I'll give you an example of this. Like recently, we had our 1-year anniversary party. We ordered some cups, like logoed cups. Like we got that invoice like a month after the party, and I remember I think it was Quentin who had the contact, and they said, we said, what took y'all so long to invoice this? And like, we were emailing amongst the group, like, man, this is like blood in the water here. Like, this is a client we should go after and convert, because we see it. Like, imagine getting paid a month after you render a service. Sure. But their point was, well, our accountant's too busy, they couldn't get to it. And we just knew that there's certain functions that they're doing that are super manual, that take too much time. And my point is, Xero invoicing is awesome, and you can connect a payment service to it. So we've talked about this in this little series we got going called Cloud 101, but I think that the metric was, or the percentage was, when people offer a credit card or ACH, they get paid like 50% faster.
Yeah.
So Xero, you can connect easily. And when I say in-app, meaning in the software, you can connect to Stripe, which is their preferred credit card processor, and then Go Cardless for ACH. And you can have those both on your invoices. That's when you send an invoice to somebody and they get it on their phone, they could use Google Pay, Apple Pay. Like you immediately reduce the friction of getting paid and getting paid quickly. And you can produce those invoices super easy.
Yeah.
And also, when I see people that do things either in a desktop software or none, they've got invoices kind of on the side, like in a PDF or Word documents. So at any point in time, they couldn't tell you who owes them, how much they owe, how long it's been outstanding without some work to do that. And so Xero is going to have that queued up for you, but it's also going to give you the ability to get paid fast, which is, you know, in the cash flow sense, is great.
How do you recommend, because I still think of like, you know, we're talking about businesses converting, right? And I still think of like back in the day, like working for these kind of like oil field service companies where you like walk in and like Barbara in the back is going to cut your check, you know, and like she prints it out. And the whole, like, what's that look like in Xero?
In terms of paying vendors?
Yeah.
Yeah, so
just knowing that would be something that people got to think through of like, okay, we're going to make this switch. What's that look like?
Yeah, so what that looks like is you can do that. So if you like that traditional way, you can.
Yeah, I'm not endorsing it. I'm just thinking you got to cross that bridge.
Yeah. No, this is great. I'm going to walk you through what I would walk you through the old way, and then I'll get to the new way, which is how. And let me back up just a second. All these things I'm mentioning are things we do internally. So we're pitching all these solutions. They're things we've already tested and we use. So your example about the payables, okay? The old way, which you could do in Xero. Client sends you a bill. You get your admin person to key that in, you know, type it in and have it ready. And then you go to the business owner and say, here are the bills. And he says, okay, cut checks for these. You print the check. You slide it across his desk. He signs it. You call the service provider. Hey, your check's ready. Come pick it up or mail it to him. Okay. What I like to do and what we do in Xero is we have all of our vendors. There's a dedicated email address for payables, accounts payable, bills you owe to vendors. And what happens is when you give that dedicated email address, we say, look, this is the way you get paid now. Send your invoice here. What happens is that little dedicated email address, which is a arcane string of characters that Xero provides, it's unique. They send their invoice there, and Xero makes a bill for you. So now you've already cut out a step. And then, so you get your admin or whoever handles bill payment to just go in there, check that the bill that got pulled in, meaning the PDF, and Xero is reading the PDF and putting things in certain fields for you, and it creates a bill, and now it's ready to be paid. Okay, so then at that point, you could still go the old way if you want to write a check. But
just make sure to be clear, because I think I just got this the other day, actually. Like, it's actually in Xero as accounts receivable, accounts payable. Like accounted for and everything already.
Yeah. So it's there. It's there. The accounting, and I think I skip a lot of steps when I say that. And what people are missing is that the accounting gets done for you a lot of times. Yeah. So that bill is ready. What we do is we connect a payment service. So I'm sure we're going to talk a little bit more about this, but Xero, because it's like the hub, you know, and in terms of a back office, it's like the hub, and you would connect other services like a bill payment service. So for us, that's Routable. Routable and Xero, because they're both cloud-based, connect via, and you could probably talk about this more, an API integration, which essentially, for people that are non-techs, is basically those software agree we're going to talk to each other. That's basically what happened. We're going to send data back and forth between. Right. Well, when you send that bill and it gets approved in Xero, because it's connected to Routable, Routable says, hey, we see this bill sitting in Xero. Do you want to pay it? And because we onboard vendors in such a way, we say we only pay you through Routable. We just click pay. So now what happens? They get an ACH. Routable tells Xero, hey, let's just say it was $200. Take $200 out of the checking account. Say it's not there. And say that bill is now paid. That's all happening behind the scenes. You don't do any of that.
Yeah. And then Routable
sends them $200
with ACH.
That's right.
Gotcha.
In a day or two. Like, it's great. Yeah. And then you could you could think this through. You could set approval levels in Routable to say, like for us, Stephanie, who I would, is more or less our operations manager, has approval to pay bills under a certain threshold, but bills over a certain threshold requires not two-factor, but a second authority, which is me. And so it's great. I get an email. It says, hey, this bill's ready to be paid. It needs your approval. And now Routable has gotten so good. They've got an email integration that says you can just reply approved and we send the bill. Like I used to have to click into Routable and click a button that says approved. So
no, I'm smiling because I'm part of this organization right now where I won't go into the details, but basically I'm like a signer. And like I get a stack of checks that I have to sign. And I'm just like, this could be.
Imagine if you just responded approved.
Yeah.
Like 7 times, like approved, approved, and then it was done, and you went about your day.
And I'm one of many. And so we're often just like hunted down. It's like, oh, they already did it. Can you do it? You know? And it's like, oh, this could be just an email.
Oh no, it's great, man. Like we've implemented that. We implemented that here, but we're looking at other, like clients. Like, is this a pain point getting bills paid? And certain times, I think another threshold for a lot of people is kind of we've been doing it this way. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
And this is what I tell people in terms of cloud and the savings of time. I say this because they'll say, well, so and so, that's their job, and I say, great, but here's what we're going to do. Let's just say that part of their job takes 12 to 15 hours a week. Why don't we automate it now that it takes 2 or 3 hours a week, and that 10 hours you've saved, don't cut their hours, because I know what you're getting at.
Right.
Why don't you repurpose that person into a more value-added role? Because internally, paying your bills is not there's no value there if it can be done better, cheaper, faster with a software. But what could be value is you take those 10 hours and say, now I want you client-facing or customer-facing. What if you were a client success person? I don't know what business you're in, but let's just say it's dealing with customers and they need feedback from you, or there's a give and take. How about that person for the 10 hours a week reaching out to customers? Hey, how's the product going? How did you like it? Is there anything we could do better? Can I connect with anybody? Are you having any problems? Like, that's my mind shift about cloud. It's letting me, the tasks I can automate, what do I do at the time? I'd use it more client-facing in service. Yeah. And I think that's what people need to think about. Like these old, you mentioned oil field, you see this a lot. These old jobs for people that have never changed in 20 years. And now people get reluctant to use the tech because they think it's going to get rid of so-and-so.
Yeah.
And I would say, no, just use it to enhance your organization. Repurpose that person.
Sure.
Yeah.
And there's a give and take there,
There's a give and, for sure.
Yeah. You know, I mean, I think if you're... Yeah, it's a tough thing.
Yeah.
But it's a reality.
But it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you don't do it, somebody else will. Sure. I promise you. Somebody else is going to run a more lean kind of startup business.
Yeah, not somebody will. They are.
They are.
I mean, that's why the software exists.
Exactly. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. What are some other things people need to know, before if they're just, I think it's a good time of year. People are always like kicking up all right, what are we going to do next year? It's, everybody's kind of looking back at the year, things they accomplished, didn't accomplish,
right.
Swearing to themselves they'll never do things again.
Correct. Are you one of those?
Yeah, that's why it feels real.
Yeah. This episode's resonating with you.
Yeah.
No, I would say payroll. Okay, so Xero doesn't do payroll. So if we contrast QuickBooks and Xero doesn't do payroll, QuickBooks does. And we could have a whole episode on QuickBooks payroll. I mean, it was recently about a month or two ago where thousands, maybe millions of people didn't get paid. They just dropped the ball on that. Oof. Oh, terrible. And so Xero partners with a software, again, through an API integration called Gusto. It's their preferred payroll provider. Okay. What I like about Xero not doing everything, and I'll contrast it with Intuit, who owns QuickBooks, trying to do everything, is that when you try to do everything, you can't do them all well. Gusto, who Xero's partner with, does payroll all day, every day. That's all they care about. Mm-hmm. Eat, drink, sleep, payroll. When you connect with Gusto, Gusto offers what's called, let's just say you have 5 people on salary, and then you get paid the same amount. Gusto offers autopilot. I told this they were like, wait, what? You basically set up people and you say run payroll, and until you have a change, it just runs in the background. Every payday they get paid, you do nothing.
Yeah, that's how
yours was, right. Or is.
Yeah.
You get an email, hey, we're going to run payroll in 2 days. You good with that?
Yeah.
Make a change now. If not, I think they even say sit back and relax is their terminology in the email.
Yeah, if I can be honest, I've archived the emails. I get the email notifications and I've just routed them because I don't. Yeah. Like at first I was like, oh, what's this? I need to read it. I'm like, no, it's just every week they tell me, there's nothing to do. Your payroll's on its way or whatever.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
So and my point in that is Gusto because they're all things payroll, are looking to make it better, faster, more efficient. Gusto then also pays all your payroll, meaning they draft it on payroll day. They take the money from you for your employees' direct deposits and the taxes. They pay that for you, and then they file all the quarterly and annual payroll tax returns.
Yeah. And I think you need to confirm this too. We've talked a lot about Gusto in the past, but I think, again, if you're in that mentality of like, can this thing handle everything we're dealing with?
Right.
And you're probably, I mean, the 5 salary employees is just enough, like, to where there's always some kind of little payroll thing where like somebody's getting time, whatever the deal is, right? When you're managing people and their payroll, there's little hiccups along the way.
Right.
Gusto can handle all of that.
Gusto's amazing. Like,
there's not anything, if not better, and you have more access to that stuff.
So kind of what I started with saying with Gusto, because they are all things payroll, all they do is innovate in the payroll space. Excuse me. They all, obviously, time off policies. They offer employee manuals. They offer now onboarding employees with apps. Like, you can go through them to onboard them to Microsoft Office and all your different apps. Like, I mean, it's amazing. Like the stuff they do. They offer now. I've got a client that we do workers' comp insurance through them. So just a quick aside, workers' comp insurance is one of those things where it's based on your payroll. And let's just say you're growing and your premium was set based on the payroll from the previous year. But what happens if you grow during the year? Well, what happens is at the end of the year, they audit you and they say, oh, your payroll's 30% more than you said it would be. Here's an audit adjustment, $5,000 bill. Gusto smartly works with a workers' comp insurance and says, because we have your payroll data, we're going to change your premium throughout the year based on the payroll. So you never get an audit adjustment.
Jeez.
That is awesome. Like, if you've
ever, why are the audits set up that way? That seems so malicious.
It's ridiculous because that's the system. It's tell us what your payroll is going to be, and we tell you what your premium is, and then we come back and say, "Ooh, your payroll was 20% higher. We got to charge you."
Yeah.
But what if you've been on that side of that? That's not fun,
right?
Because if you're growing, you just don't think about this stuff. So you set up with Gusto. Your premium is not a level premium. It changes based on payroll because it's real time. So I'm not going to get too much into that, but that's because Gusto wants to solve all things payroll.
Yeah.
They do now 401k. They do health reimbursement arrangement. I mean, Gusto cash out, let your employees get money before payroll advance. I mean, awesome stuff. But the point is, Xero doesn't do it. And I think the reason is because Gusto does it so well. They said, look, let's turn it over to these guys. And I'll even say this. You could be in Xero looking at your payroll data that has funneled in from Gusto, and there's a button that says go to Gusto. You just click in Xero, and it brings you to that payroll in Gusto.
Yeah.
They make it seamless.
I think this is a good place to kind of the last point is the Xero ecosystem.
Yeah.
And what I like about it is there's some safety and freedom in a business that's growing in the sort of Xero's not decentralized in the sense of like, okay, I mean, it's a real hub and it does a lot. But the fact that like you're not going to be 10 years into Xero and be like, oh, no, we can't move because we just have all this infrastructure just like tangled into Xero. Because like, right now it's routable. But in 10 years when we're like, I don't know, waving a certain way and it magically pays people or whatever the new technology, crypto funnel, whatever the deal is, you're not like, we still got to do the Xero thing because, you know what I mean? It's like, no, we swapped out. Now we've got.
Dude, that's a great point.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So like, I feel like you've got just enough of the solid accounting that you're compliant, you get the reporting you need, but you're not trapped in this like system that is going to look like what we're talking about in 10 years of like, the thing that was probably innovative one day. The fact that, oh man, we're printing checks. Like, wow, that's so efficient.
Absolutely.
But now it's a joke.
Yeah, but it's true. But it's a good point you're making is that Xero, because again, these are all cloud-based software, which means you never download the latest version. You have the latest version at all times. I told this to somebody calling me recently who was looking to move from Sage, and I was mentioning all things. She was like, wait, I can't wrap my head around the fact that I don't download anything and install anything. I'm like, no. You just go to Xero.com. It's a web browser. Yeah. You always have the latest version. And to your point, yes, Xero's always making their core product better, but they know what they are. And in this day and age, when apps are the thing, There's an app for Xero. I think in the app marketplace is 1,000 connected apps. Xero vets them out on the security side, right? Makes it you need to play nice with us. We need to make sure your security's up to par with ours. But to the extent you are, hell yeah, we'll let you connect because you do this small. I mean, like think about anything you could think about. Like you might be a caterer. There's catering software. You might be a bridal. Wedding planner. There's specific right. And then it sends the data into Xero to do the accounting. Like so, you could be client facing with one software, like HoneyBook is a great example. Like we use them for a caterer, and then everything's done through HoneyBook, but it syncs into Xero and does what you need. But to your point, yes, Xero is going to keep making their core product better, all while saying we don't do catering as well as a catering only software is going to do it. Right. Let them connect to us.
Yeah, for sure.
And then you can swap them out later.
Yeah. I think that's a great place to end it. So if you're thinking about making the switch, you know what? I do want to bring this last thing up. Right. Usually it's you that is extending
I'm surprised. You're usually pretty disciplined.
Well, we talked about this the other day, I thought, in here, just not in the podcast. But I do think you need to speak to the security. Yeah. And kind of like, I hate to end on a negative note, but like, what's the worst case scenario and how you know ways to prevent that? Because I do think that's an issue. You know what I mean? Correct. Every company out there is going to have the IT guy that's like, I know them. I've worked with them. They're like, I don't know.
I don't trust the cloud. I don't trust. Yeah, I get it. So security wise, I think what I do is, look, Xero's got all their security protocol shown on their website. And I think the certification, don't quote me on this, is what it's called AICPA SOC2. AICPA being the professional body for CPAs. SOC2 is a certification they give a stamp of approval that says basically they protect your data. But with any of these apps, yes, by all means, you need to look at their security. I'm not vouching for them. Yeah. Xero, I can because I've used it. Obviously, I can't say they won't have a data breach, but I think it's highly unlikely. Yeah. They're highly motivated to protect your data. Yeah. But what could you do? What you could do is there's an ability to download all of your data, and you can do that. Mm-hmm. So, like, if you want,
and you called it a ledger.
It's a general ledger.
General ledger, meaning like you could take that worst case scenario. You can take that. Mm-hmm. The data's yours. You could use that to do your tax. You know what I mean?
That'd be a best practice would be you might want to download your general ledger once a week. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, because it is a cloud-based. So it's not like creating a backup of QuickBooks, which a lot of people have done and used to. It's going to be more like that kind of downloads and exports. Mm-hmm. And even as I'm saying that, I know QuickBooks Online has recently partnered with somebody who lets you like back up the cloud file. So I'm sure Xero has an integration with somebody that does that. I don't know it off the top of my head. Yeah. But yeah, that would be the best practice would be to download your data.
Yeah. And Xero's not an open platform in the sense of like, the best way I can translate is like, if you've ever added like an app or connected an app to Facebook. Yeah. And you know how they give you the little pop-up like, hey, you're giving them permission to post on your behalf or like thing or whatever. Yeah. And you can like limit that. Most of the apps you connect with on Xero, they've been vetted. Yeah. You know what I mean? So like Xero's not going to just let some app give access to your bank account or whatever. So you don't need to be worried about that, but also just understand the difference. Like, this is a reporting application that makes my reports look cool and merges them with my inventory or whatever. That's read only. Whereas like Gusto has access to your bank account, but they've been vetted and
you've granted them access.
Exactly. Right.
So you haven't indirectly. So to your point, you haven't indirectly granted Gusto access to your bank account. That would be an overt request. Like Gusto to process payroll says, hey, I need you to verify this and put it in a bank account. So
it's very intentional. I'm not giving the impression that you just slip into that.
But it's a good point, though. There's no indirect, like, oh, crap, by adding so-and-so and Xero's connected to my bank account that, by transitive property, now they have access to my bank account?
Right.
No.
Yeah, it's not like that.
Correct. So, that's a good point.
Anyway, those are just some disclaimers because I just was trying to think of other questions people would have before making the switch. Right. But yeah, so I think that is where we'll end it for real this time.
For real. All right.
So, yeah, I hope that's giving you the information you need to make the switch to Xero. If it's a big goal of yours and you didn't get it done in 2021, 2022,
it's gonna be your year.
That's right. All right. Well, always go to Mire.group, check out other episodes there, and you can reach out to Marcus as well. And certainly, that'd be a great person to reach out to if you're looking to make this conversion and get into the weeds on that.
Yep.
So, all right.
See you next time.
See ya.